Hi, how are you? Today is Wednesday, November 28th, and we have a few really fun card projects to make together. I'll be making some projects that are for simple stamping and for an avid crafter, and then something in between that is for the casual crafter too. Hi Anne-Marie, happy to see you. We're going to make 3 cards today. So I've got it all set up to where it's not going to take us an hour. We're going to go a little faster than that. Hey Joanne. Hi Candace, how are you? Bonjour. I'm not going to share any happy mail today. I've got a little bit, but I'll save it for next week. But today I'm going to get right into the projects because I want to share 3 different projects with you today. I also have some stuff for the kids. I'll save it for next week. That way we can get right into it today. So I'm going to use a couple of different stamp sets. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I will get something rolling over here for us. Before I start, I would like to share that we have only a few days left to be able to purchase Happiness Surrounds and Snow is Glistening. In fact, we'll be using Happiness Surrounds today, and it's a really great stamp set. And it doesn't look a lot like Christmas, but we're going to make it into a Christmas card 3 different ways, which is really exciting. Snow is Glistening and the snowfall thinlits and the white velvet paper and the little trinkets of snowflakes are amazing. Hi Sherry, thanks for joining in. So I've gathered together some samples that we can look at really quick, just to kind of see what the possibilities are for these particular products. The last day to order is November the 30th, and today is the 28th. I keep looking over here at your comments. So there's only a few days left. Now I do have tutorials that are for Snow is Glistening and Happiness Surrounds. And there's 2 different tutorial packs, and you could get either one of them based on which stamp set you choose to order. And I send that to you in the form of a PDF document by email once I get notified of your online order. And that's on top of the 12-pack tutorial that I'm already sending you. So you get lots and lots of great ideas for these projects. Okay, let's get right into it so we can start moving. Hi, Fran. Thank you for sharing, Anne-Marie. And hi, Vicki. Thank you for sharing too. I appreciate that. Here is a card that is very recent to my YouTube channel. I'm not sure how well it's going to show because of see, I've got the natural light competing with the light from my lamps. So I'll try to get it at an angle, or maybe I should just flip the camera now and show you guys so you can actually see what the projects are. So we will get started here. If you bear with me just a minute, I'm going to flip things around. So this card is on my YouTube channel and my blog today, Wednesday the 28th. It'll be around for a while. It's a really fun, easy way to create with combining stamp sets. So this is with Snow is Glistening stamp set. And we've got some pieces in the background too. And this is the sentiment from Merry Christmas to All. Here's a card that we made together on a live video. This is with Snow is Glistening and the snowfall thinlits, and that one was a lot of fun. Really great technique to adapt into all sorts there. You guys must remember this, and then there was another that went with it that was very dark, but this was the snowfall thinlits and Snow is Glistening, and I absolutely adore. This is probably my favorite out of all of these cards that I made with this promotion, with the snow what is it called? Now I can't think of it. I'm sorry. But Snow is Glistening, Happiness Surrounds, and the Snowfall Thinlits. And then here's another one that I created, and this is glossy white paper. This is the white velvet paper. You can hear that little subtle scratch there. Brought in some annual catalog paper and these beautiful little trinkets. And remember, we created this together with the alcohol and the spritzer. Hi, Kathy. Oh, you just watched the video too. That's great. Here is another one. This is created with Santa's Workshop, and we've got this really large, very, very pretty Snowfall Thinlits snowflake. And it was created into an easel card. You can see it there. And the snowflake is a perfect backdrop to that. So there are lots and lots of ways to use the products that are from this promotion. And this is Happiness Surrounds. And this is, I did make a few other cards with Happiness Surrounds, but I have already sent them away to be received by some people. So this is the one that I have on hand, and I really like the look of this particular stamp set. And I'm going to miss this whenever it is no longer available for purchase. But we're going to use it today because it's just so pretty and amazing. Hi, Anne. Another fellow New Jerseyan. I'm actually a Texan, but I live in New Jersey. I still don't call myself being from New Jersey because I'm from Texas. You know how that kind of works out. All right, so we are going to make 3 different card projects today. We're going to start out with simple, move it up to medium level, kind of more for a casual crafter, and then make a card that's got lots of techniques and lots of extra stuff for the avid crafter. So this stamp set will accommodate just about any level of crafter. And we're going to bring in a few other stamp sets as well. I'm going to use some elements from Christmas Pines and a little bit from Making Everyday Bright. And that's where we see the different experience level of crafters change whenever they are able to integrate more into a particular stamp set. So we're going to start off with Happiness Surrounds. This is a card base that is from Sahara Sand. And if you're new to crafting, then how we create a card base is to cut a piece of paper, and you can make it any size you want. But typically in the United States, the card base that we can use from a standard piece of cardstock is cut in half and then scored in the middle. So it would actually be measured, and I'll show you here on my grid paper, 8.5 by 5.5. And then this will be scored at the 4 1/4 mark. And you can do all of this trimming and scoring on your Stampin' Trimmer. So it's a wonderful tool to have on hand. So now you have what's called a note card, and you can use this for all sorts of things. So if you are just starting out in stamping, then you don't have to try to integrate everything in at the first of your crafting. Just learn as you go. So I've got my stamps already mounted onto clear acrylic blocks. And this is the image we're going to be using from Happiness Surrounds. It's a beautiful wreath, has like a Scandinavian look to it. And this is Mossy Meadow. This stamp pad is one of the new style, and this is the older style, but they both work very well. So we're going to start out with Mossy Meadow and stamp our wreath. Now remember, this is for simple stamping. We're going to stamp our wreath in green. Make sure I get a nice coverage on all of it, and I'm not. I need 2 hands here. And I'm going to line up those points and stamp it right in the middle of my paper. And that didn't come out so good, did it? Well, I tell you what we can do is we can turn this around and try again. Now there's a tool that's called the Stamparatus, and the Stamparatus actually allows you to stamp something in the same position more than one time. So this time I'm going to do a little better with my stamping. I'll place down the same way with those points, and then I'm going to hold the stamp in place and allow all of that ink to transfer. My stamp pad's not very juicy, and so I have to really work to get the ink on it, and that tells me I need to use ink refills in order to get it a little bit more easy to work with. Okay, that's a better image. So we're just going to pretend like this is not on the other side. We all have those moments, don't we? Good morning, Betty. Okay, so continuing on with our simple stamping theme, I'm going to use Cherry Cobbler stamp pad. And then I've pulled just a teeny tiny image from Christmas Pines. So we're still only stamping, but I've got this tiny little, it's 2 dots that are side by side, and I'm going to use that to create the look of some berries around this wreath. And it doesn't have to be in any particular place. They can go in and accent anywhere that works. Maybe even on the inside here. Let's see. I can get creative and actually place them in a few wonderful little spots here that are going to be eye-catching. And I want to try to balance it out by looking to make sure that I've got the right amount of stamped pieces, stamped images, in a look that looks appealing. And then we're going to finish this card off with Sahara Sand ink, and this is Sahara Sand card base, and then I'm using the sentiment that is from Christmas Pines. So we've used this beautiful wreath from Happiness Surrounds, and we've added to it with something else from our stash, but kept with the entire simple stamping theme. And I'll add this right at the bottom. So this piece is going to give a little bit of a tone-on-tone look. And that's very simple Christmas card. This is something that anyone can create, any level at all. And we're using a stamp set that's new, plus we're using a stamp set that is something that's already from the stash. This came out last year and it got lots of love. You can tell that I did a lot of stamping with this. And so there's always a great opportunity to pair up a new product with something that we already have. So this is our simple stamping. That's our first project. And now to step it up a little bit, we're going to use the same size and color card base, but we're going to do things a little bit more different this time around. So I'm going to open this up. I'll be using the same stamps, but we'll change it up just a little bit. Add a few techniques that the medium level crafter has already learned. So we're bringing Mossy Meadow back over, but we're adding in Old Olive. So the first thing I'm going to do is to ink up with Old Olive on the entire image. And then we'll add a very simple technique. Make sure I got this nice and juicy. And the rock and roll technique means to take just the edge of the stamp and rock it, or you can call it rolling it, around the edge of the stamped image, just to where not the whole stamp's gonna have some more darkness to it, just a little bit. And then we can stamp this right in the middle again, just like we did before. I'm going to close this up. I'm going to apply the pressure right in the middle where that image is, and not around the edge where I did I got a little too far over when I did the rock and roll technique. And these colors are going to be subtle. It's not going to be a huge dramatic change between those two greens. But I will need to clean my stamp for sure. Pardon me. So we won't be able to use it again the way it is. And this is the chamois, the Simply Chamois, and this is an easy way to be able to clean off the stamp. There's also a Stampin' Scrub, and that's a wonderful way too, but this is what's close at hand. Okay, since we are stepping it up on this version, then instead of using this image that has the little red berries that are stamped, we can actually use some red rhinestones. And because this would be for a casual crafter, we would be used to using and adding different things onto our project. So I can add just a few. I can add them actually on the points or just kind of add them for atmosphere around. I'll try to get them into a triangle shape, a visual triangle, because that will be sort of pleasing to my eye. Okay. And then we can add another stamp set to kind of bring things up another notch to the casual crafter. We're using Christmas pines already, so we can stamp a few of these little pretty pine cones and just stamp them in a tone-on-tone look. This is not the right one. I've gotten myself confused. Sorry about that. This is the pine cone. This is the pine cone image from Making Everyday Bright. And I had planned to stamp it on the same color cardstock here. Now this is a two-step process, but we're only going to do the one step and use soft suede. I considered doing this a couple of different ways, but I thought this would be a little bit better for the casual crafter. So just adding the image with it being a little bit darker, or you could actually take and do the rock and roll technique on this as well. It lends itself really easily. And this is Making Everyday Bright. So we've added in that extra stamp set. And because this particular stamp set has a coordinating punch, we're going to use the punch. And this is the Christmas Bulb Builder punch. Say that quickly 3 times. That's a tongue tie. So we have a few very easy pine cones to add to our already easy design. See how easy that works out? And they can just be placed in a couple of little places together. And the casual crafter is going to be used to using punches, so we can actually step things up just a little bit more. And we'll add a little bit of this beautiful lace. This is the antique lace. I usually keep mine secured with a straight pen. This is available in the annual catalog. And this is something that works out perfectly when you have somebody that is familiar with making cards, but doesn't necessarily want to go crazy and use the big shot all the time. This is something that we can easily feel comfort. And I like how this lace just kind of works in so well with everything. And I do want to cover this because I got a little boo-boo here. So I want to try to place things in a way that's going to cover up. And then to add the sentiment, we're going to use the same sentiment that we were using on the first card, which says Season of Joy. And because the casual crafter will be used to doing this sort of thing, and I know I'm using a lot of language that I don't normally use, but I'm trying to make a project or a series of projects that will appeal to people that are not so comfortable with using everything that is all technique based. So these are some very simple steps that anybody can do that is familiar or not familiar with card making. And that's the whole point of today's demonstration, is that I want to help those people. They have to be able to start somewhere too. I'm sure that you and I all remember that we were at one point not familiar with making a card. We were not familiar with what it is to heat emboss or to do the rock and roll technique. There's a lot of things that I take for granted that I really should not, because not everybody is familiar with making cards the same way. So this sentiment is stamped with soft suede onto another piece of Sahara Sand. Very easy to use your trimmer or just use paper snips and make it into a strip. And I know that's not straight. I'm just about impossible at cutting a straight line. Now this is something you can actually fussy cut around to make it even more appealing if that's your taste. But right now we're making things easy for people that don't always make cards that are very stepped up. So we can take this, and because we've gotten a little bit further with it, we can use some Stampin' Dimensionals. And don't worry, hang with me guys, because we're going to make an avid crafter project next. We will get there. Okay, and this is going to just kind of, I'm rethinking my design here. I think I can add those low enough. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of snail adhesive to keep this ribbon in place. Situate it just right across the card. All right, it doesn't want to stick. So we're going to go for the heavy artillery and work in some glue dots. These mini glue dots are definitely heavy artillery for me, because anything that doesn't like to stick anywhere gets a mini glue dot. Okay, now that ribbon's not going anywhere, it is firmly in place. And then we'll add our sweet little sentiment here, right above or right on. We could put it right on the ribbon. And then we can use the snail adhesive for these little pine cones. And I'll put one as close up under here as I can. There we go. And then this one can have another Stampin' Dimensional, because it will fit just right. And be the same level as our sentiment. So what do you guys think? This is a little bit of a step up, but it's not too far out of reach for a casual crafter. This is something that we can easily achieve if we have the products at hand and you feel comfortable using them. Then there's always a way that we can come up with something that's another way to step things up. So this is our beginner crafter. This would be the simple stamping. There's no embellishments here at all, just ink and paper. And it's the design that actually adapts itself well to something else. Now you could easily step this up a little bit more and add some more bling to it, but seeing as this is a medium level crafter, we want to ease into things. So now taking both of these cards into account, then we're going to go for something that is much more for the avid crafter. So we're going to kind of keep these as reference points on how we're progressing so far. And we're going to totally step things up for the avid crafter. So many people that watch my YouTube channel are avid crafters, and they come to me for lessons on techniques and on design, and want to be able to use the products that they have in a new and inventive way. So this type of project would be for that stamper. And I've already taken a piece of watercolor paper and mounted it on a piece of Sahara Sand, and I've got tear and tape on the back so that as we go, I'll be able to pull it off quickly. Generally, I would not layer all this stuff up ahead of time. Generally. So that way it's easy to understand where I'm coming from. Now, for this particular project, we're going to add some techniques, and we're going to make them in a really fun way. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a watercolor wash, and it's going to be very easy and very simple. We're going to be able to dry it, so I don't want it to be overwhelmingly wet. And the easiest way for me to be able to get quick access to my ink for an aqua painter is to use the inside lid of my stamp pad. Okay, so I'm going to add just a very light coating of water, and I want to be able to dilute this color. This is Old Olive. And I want this to just be atmosphere. Sometimes with a watercolor wash, you can go really bold and bright, or we can just create an atmosphere, because we're going to be doing some stamping on top of this. So by wetting the paper first with my aqua painter, and I'm not going with too much water, and then I'm picking up very small amounts, then this is going to help me create a depth in, again, that word atmosphere. I'm not pushing the barrel of my aqua painter. I'm just letting it move around all of that ink and water that I've already added. And because I'm using it in small amounts, it's going to dry back pretty quickly. But before it dries back, I want to take advantage of the fact that it is wet, and I'm going to add that wreath right on top of that damp paper. So as we get this really nice and inked up, this is the Mossy Meadow, and the first one I used was Old Olive. We're going to echo the design of these two cards, and we're just making it stepped up a bit. And I put my finger on it. All right, that's going to be a place we have to embellish then, isn't it? And then you can see that it's going to give a different stamped look because we stamped on damp paper. And then it's okay for it to not be completely solid. We can take our water brush and kind of smooth over those areas if you feel more like you want to have everything be a little bit more of a cohesive look. But we want it to kind of look feathered and fluffy and very much a part of the watercolor process. Now I bought these little hand wipes just to keep right here at my video table for this exact time, so that when I got ink on my finger, I wouldn't transfer it to the paper. And then here I go adding it to the paper. Okay, so we are going to let this dry back a little bit with our heat tool on low setting. It won't take but just a few minutes to get it to dry, but you can see already that there is a different and distinct look versus these two projects. It's the same stamp, it's the same colors. We're just using our stamp pad in a different way and adding in another tool, which is an aqua painter. And this is just going to give a really different look. I'm going to just kind of put my hand to make sure that I've got it dry enough, and it is. So it didn't take long at all to get it dried up. All right, I'm going to move these two out of the way because now we're going to kind of get a little bit more inky, and I've got some more pieces from Christmas Pines that we're going to add in. So this is going to give me a little bit of a more look that there's kind of like a shadow over the wreath. I wanted this to kind of look a little bit hazy. So this is the more solid of the two branches that are from Christmas Pines. And I'm going to use the Old Olive because I don't want it to overpower the Mossy Meadow that we've already got. And I want it to kind of come from the side and ink over the center here. So I'm going to use a piece of paper to cover up my side piece of cardstock here. And this is watercolor paper that we're using, just to kind of give a reminder. So with Old Olive, I'm going to stamp off and then stamp off again quickly. And it's going to give me a much lighter shade. I'm going to cover up the side of my paper just because this is already mounted on cardstock. If you're using just watercolor paper, this would not be necessary. And kind of give this a little bit over here. I'm pushing pretty hard here and then let it up. And it's just going to bring in some atmosphere. And very, very lightly, make sure that I'm getting all the color off of that previous brush. Just kind of move things around a little bit. This is just kind of creating, again, there's that word, atmosphere. Feathering out those branches just a little bit. This is just giving us a little something more. And the watercolor paper is very, very easy to help this happen. So now we've got our wreath design, and we've got a little something more in the design to bring it to life. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp this first and then stamp the wreath over it. But I didn't want to lose the opportunity to stamp this from Happiness Surrounds, this beautiful wreath, while it was still wet on that area. So now we can do all sorts of things because this is for the casual crafter. Then we can add the second step with that little pine cone. We don't have to make just the one step that we did on this card because this one was, you know, a bit more simple. Then we want to kind of add things, kick it up a notch. I sound like Emerald Lagasse now. Okay, so I've got some scraps of paper here, and I'm going to end up mounting this on a piece of white cardstock. So I want to bring a little bit more white into the design to make it a bit more cohesive. So I'll be able to stamp my first level with Sahara Sand, and then I'm going to stamp the second level with soft suede because I want the outline to really show up well. So this one is going to go with soft suede, and that's the outline of the pine cone. And then the base, the first level, is going to be Sahara Sand. And I'm going to do that onto Whisper White cardstock, just regular Whisper White. So let's add a few pine cones. And we'll be able to use that same punch whenever we get to that point. And by using that, just that little bit of a next level of darker brown, it's going to help all of the little pieces show up a little better. Oh, that one looks much better. There we go. And we'll be able to punch these out with the Christmas Bulb Builder Punch. I said it much better this time around. And we'll punch out all three of these. And the beauty of using some image type like this is that even though I didn't stamp this perfectly on the second layer, I can hide that part underneath something else and it will still be able to be used. So I wouldn't just kind of toss it out. And this time, instead of the little red berries, and we could use the little red berries, but I thought it would be great to use the snowflake trinkets because that's going to also create a bit more atmosphere. So we could use one of those little snowflake trinkets, or we could use a few. Let's just see what it looks like with one. We're going to go on to a Whisper White card base. One thing that I really like to do is to use a piece of ribbon and weave it in between the pieces that are on these little snowflakes. I think that it's just really darling whenever that works out easy in a design. So maybe we'll do that again, and that will bring the element once again of the beautiful lace. I'm cutting more than I need because I'm going to secure it on the back side. Hi, Donna. Okay, so before I put this down, I'm going to weave in the ends of this little piece of lace. All I need to do is just get one end of it to cooperate and pull it through. Oh, you know, I went the wrong way. Okay. I want it to cover the back of the snowflake. So I'll have to pull it through the back and then back up through the front. That way the front of the snowflake isn't covered up. Do you ever use any type of embellishment with your ribbon and kind of make it work together? I would really love to hear how you use your ribbon and your embellishments. Look at how easy that goes together. It's just perfect. Okay, so I'm going to secure this down to the back. And I've already got this tear and tape in place, so I'll go ahead and just lift that. Sometimes if I use my scissors or the take a pick tool or even my paper piercing tool, then it's easier for me to be able to keep that in place. Isn't that cute? I love how that came together. And then I'll take off all the rest. So how are you liking the progression between the stepped up and the simple for beginners versus the casual crafter? I'd love to hear what you guys think of this project series. So this is going to adhere directly down to the card base. And with the sentiment, we have the opportunity to be able to stamp it and raise it on dimensionals or stamp it down directly to the card base. I know I'm going to use a few of these little pine cones, especially to cover up that little boo-boo that I created. This is the one that I wanted to hide. So I'm going to make this little guy kind of go underneath the lace. And if I do that, then I will be able to create my sentiment. Oh, thanks, Anne-Marie. I'm so glad you like it. And I'll be able to create my sentiment with white paper, and that's going to also help to tie some of those white elements together. And I think I'll use Sahara Sand to try to echo the rest of the colors that we have going on. I definitely need to re-ink my stamp pads. Check that out. That's going to be on my list of to-do things. Unfortunately, I can't use my kids to do something like that, because if I get them to use any type of an ink refill, then they're going to just kind of spray it everywhere. My kids and ink refill would definitely not be a winning combination. All right, and I'm just going to give a little bit of fussy cut around this sentiment because it is very simple, and I don't want it to overpower the lace that is on the card already. And there's no right or wrong when it comes to fussy cutting around a sentiment. I've had a lot of people tell me they don't feel comfortable because they're not sure exactly where to cut and where not to cut. And the answer simply is to just do whatever works for you. You could just cut this into a rectangle and flag the ends of it, or do as I'm doing and just cut around the curved lines. And this is the simplest way to customize a greeting. And so now we can place this right over here and adhere it directly down or raise it up. And I think I will raise it up just a little bit. And that's where those little side pieces come in handy on the Stampin' dimensional sheet. I just keep some of those pieces clipped loose so that I can use a little small one. Another thing would be to use the mini Stampin' dimensionals. Those are also a really convenient size. Okay, so we're getting closer here. And again, this project would be for the advanced crafter because we created a watercolor wash and we're doing some fussy cutting and using embellishments in a special way. And before I put this down, I want to make sure that I've got these little pine cones in place, and I'm just going to use a tiny bit of the liquid glue, of the Tombow. Oh, I wanted to share with you guys, I do read every single one of your YouTube and Facebook comments. Sometimes it's hard for me to reply because my life gets really busy with my 2 children, but I always read them and I try very hard to reply to them. And I got the biggest smile this morning from reading a comment that's on the video that just came out today. And I tell you what, sometimes, guys, you make my day. I may be having a very rough day and a very hard time with my kids, because as you guys know, they have special needs. And getting one of your warm and happy comments is sometimes exactly what I needed to have to make my day bearable, or to make my day, just really be so much better. So I want to just thank you guys for all of your love and support. And please know that it doesn't go without notice. I pay attention to every single comment, and I do appreciate them all. I love you guys so much. Okay, I think we're just about to the point here to where if we go too much more, then we're going to go a little over the top, because I want to keep things in a way that you'll be able to duplicate them. And sometimes for me, adding things in a design just kind of feels a little overwhelming. Okay, I can move this up a little bit to where that little sparkle. Now we've got some silver here, but we've got these really pretty red accents here. And I feel like if I add another red, let's see what it would look like. We can do a test run. Just to add, I think we can add like maybe 1 or 2 little red pieces. These little rhinestones are so much fun. Just add a couple, because I want it to be where people are going to see that these projects really kind of go together. Okay. What do you think? It looks like we've got projects that are doable for lots and lots of different people at different levels of card making. And so we can take just a basic design such as this, and this is from the Happiness Round stamp set. Add in just a little bit of something that we've got from our stash, which would be from Christmas Pines, and we used the sentiment plus the tiny 2 little dots to make it look like berries. And this card only has stamp, ink, and paper. That's it. And then to step it up a little bit, we added in Making Everyday Bright stamp set, and just used the first image of the pine cones. Added in the punch, which is the Christmas bulb builder punch. I said it right that time. And we added in these beautiful red rhinestones and some of this really, really pretty lace. So just by stepping it up just enough, I can see I'll need to add some more dimensionals here. Just by stepping it up enough, there's a lot more we could do to that. But remember, this card is for somebody that they're familiar with stamping, but maybe they're not ready to add in too many techniques. And this did have a technique. It had the rock and roll. So it's very hard to tell. I should have gotten something with more contrast, but we did use a technique for this. It's the rock and roll technique. And then for the avid crafter, for somebody that's experienced and really, really wants to take their skills up a few notches, then we've got a watercolor wash. We've added in some shadows, and we've gotten the 2-step stamp process. We are using watercolor paper, and we've got our embellishments that are weaved in a special way. And this card just really does so much more than the others do. But that's not taking away from these 2 versions of the card either, because this would be a beautiful card for somebody to receive. Now, if you are new to card making, then it's nice to notate that you can just write on the inside of the card as is. However, when I am sending out cards, I put a piece of white paper just on this part. I don't cover this. And it is 1/4 of an inch smaller than the area. So since this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I would put a piece of white cardstock that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you can even put another stamped image right here on the inside as well. And that is another way that you can add simple stamping and just kind of bring your projects up a little bit. Oh, thank you, Doreen. Thanks, Betty. I really hope that you guys like these. Thanks, Mary. I've got so many different ways that we can approach things, and it's very, very easy for me to forget that everybody started out at one level as a beginning crafter or as a beginning card maker. Maybe you're not comfortable with watercoloring or with painting, and this is a way that you can ease yourself into things just a little bit more in a way that still looks really nice and you can share with people. So thank you guys for joining me today. I did keep it very quick. We're just under 1 hour, which is perfect because we've got an open house for Nate's school today. And we can go and have a look at what his classroom setup is, and he's going to be surprised because we didn't tell him in advance. I'm going to flip the camera back around just for a moment. There we are. So let me grab these cards. I should have done that. So here are the cards that we created today together, and you can see the progression from just that simple stamped up to somebody that's a little more comfortable with stamping, all the way to let's use techniques and embellishments in a really fun way. And I'm really excited about being able to share with people that are new to stamping. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Betty. Thank you so much. Thanks, Doreen. We'll have a great time at Nate's open house, and then he has to go to therapy right after it. So we're only going to be there for a little bit before he has to go and have his speech therapy as an outpatient today. Thank you, Anne Marie. I'm glad that you like it. Okay, thank you all so much for joining me today. A few kind of like exiting notes is that I want to thank everybody that's participated in the Stampin' Write marker beta test. We sold almost all the colors. Can you guys believe that? That's awesome. This is going to be a wonderful message to Stampin' Up! To say, yes, we do want the Stampin' Write markers to be able to be purchased individually. So it was a wonderful success, better than I ever anticipated, and I want to thank you all so much. For those of you that participated in the beta test, yes, you will get some kind of little goodie in your bag whenever I send out your markers. So I'm going to be submitting the order either tonight or tomorrow. I've got just a few crafters that haven't paid for their markers yet, and so I've got to chase them down for the payment, and that way we can get the order placed for everybody. And then it's waiting for it to come from Stampin' Up! To me, and then once I get the package, then I'll break down the markers and send them out to everybody individually. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe I can get the kids to help me do that kind of thing and get them involved. And also don't forget about Snow is Glistening and Happiness Surrounds and the Snowfall Thinlits. Those are going to be going away. Today is Wednesday, Friday. Friday is the last day to order. And these beautiful little snowflake trinkets. These trinkets are perfect. I absolutely love them. I'm not sure if they're still available to purchase. That's something that you could consider adding to your order. And you can place your order by going to my blog at jennyhalldesign.com. When you're there, there's a really big area on the right-hand side of my blog that says Shop Now, or click here to shop now. So you just need to click that and then go straight over to Stampin' Up's website, and it'll say at the top that you're stamping with me, Jenny Hall. There is no host code that's needed. I send you out Stampin' points. For every $50 of product that you order, I give you a point. Collect 10 points and you get a shopping spree. Anything you want, you get a shopping spree. So there's a lot of people that collect those points, and it makes me so happy when I can send them out to them. And I'm just so excited that you guys would choose me as your demonstrator. So thank you once again. We are heading into the home stretch of Christmas card making. I might have a few more ideas to share with you as we go along. This is a really special time of the year for me. Not only that I get to create and share with you all in preparation for Christmas time, but we're almost at the end of the holiday catalog, and this is when I usually kick up and do a lot of fancy fold special cards or a lot of special technique Christmas cards, because that's what makes me happy. And I like to add techniques to my cards. So I don't usually do a lot of simple stamping, because this is something that's fun and it's easy to do. But where my heart is teaching people with techniques. So I will continue to take some progressive steps to where you can learn from the beginning and get yourself to a level that you're comfortable with. But I love to teach watercoloring and all kinds of different techniques. And so keep an eye out on my YouTube channel. From now to the end of the year, you're going to start seeing some really, really fun stuff. Demonstrators are almost able to order their pre-order from the new occasions catalog. It's going to be pre-order time during the month of December. So if you've ever considered being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator just for the discount, or so that you can get your hands on brand new product before anybody else, the month of December is the perfect time to do it. So you'll be able to get a hold of your stuff early. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but back over here in the corner is my pre-order that I have not yet shared with you, and I will be doing an unboxing video. Things have just been a little busy with the kids, have been sick, and it's just been kind of with Thanksgiving and all. But I'll be doing a pre-order unboxing later on this week that I'll share with you all. Okay, folks, thank you so much again for joining with me today. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions about today's project, then just leave them here on the comments. If you'd like to share this video, I would greatly appreciate it. I do appreciate everything that you guys do back, and thank you for the hearts. I love it. Okay, have a fantastic day. Over and out. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day.